The ceramic filament above Commander Nia Calder's console snapped sideways before the alarm sounded. A heartbeat later, the bridge speakers placed a low metallic knock somewhere off her left shoulder, though there was only vacuum beyond the hull. Nia looked toward the sound instead of the tactical display. The sonification board had already found the source, a charging spinal battery aboard the leading Council cruiser. The note was not music. It was stress, coolant turbulence, magnetic chatter, and hull vibration translated into direction, and pitch so a human brain could hear a machine preparing to hurt someone. Then the formal message arrived. The Helix Council had declared war on Earth. Across the dark beyond Sidra Repair Anchorage, 64 Council warships brightened their drives in disciplined sequence. Their hulls were long, faceted things built around armored central spines, each surrounded by the pale shimmer of defensive fields. The formation was too wide for a single glance through the forward blister. It filled the tactical wall instead, a precise crescent of hostile icons aimed at the thin human line waiting between them and the route inward. Nia rested 2 fingers on the edge of her console. Crude hull exclusions. Hard-locked, said Pell from fire control. Capture cradles. Warm and tracking. Then hold. No one on the bridge asked why. The long measure was built like a warship and scarred like a repair yard. Its armor carried shallow grooves from micrometeor strikes and old training impacts. Between missile cells and beam apertures sat folded recovery arms, thermal blankets, emergency tow sockets, and compact drone racks. Council analysts had mocked those features in the hours before the declaration. A line cruiser, they had concluded, should not carry so much equipment meant for ships that had already been damaged. Nia had read the intercepted assessment once. She had smiled at none of it. Another sound appeared behind her right shoulder, higher and thinner than the first. A second Council battery was charging. Marshal Severin Kell is transmitting, Pell said. The alien commander's face replaced one corner of the tactical wall. Severin was narrow-headed and ash-skinned, with 2 dark sensory ridges running from his temples toward the back of his skull. He wore the black collar of the Council's Expeditionary Command and spoke with the calm of someone who had already accounted for the probable cost of his orders. Human vessels at Sidra, he said. The Council's declaration is active. Power down weapons, release the anchorage, and clear our route toward Earth. Resistance will be treated as refusal of lawful settlement. Nia opened the channel. Marshal Kell, Earth does not recognize the Council's authority to settle this by force. Withdraw the declaration and turn your fleet away. His expression barely changed. You are outmatched. Then you can afford to leave. A few heads on Long Measure's bridge turned toward her. Nia kept her eyes on the sonification plot. Severin studied her for a moment. Your restraint has been noted. It isn't restraint yet. She cut the channel. The first Council battery fired. The sonification note vanished beneath a hard white flash. Long Measure rolled as defensive fields took the outer edge of the shot. Heat alarms flickered amber. Somewhere aft, a coolant pump changed pitch through the deck. Nia felt the old instinct rise in the room. Return fire, break the shooter, put enough damage into the enemy that the next shot became impossible. She had trained for that instinct. She had also trained past it. Pell. Route only. Route only. Long Measure fired a beam too narrow to see with the naked eye. The tactical system traced it in pale green for the crew. It did not strike the cruiser's bridge. It did not touch the reactor. It did not cut into the armored hull. The beam kissed the exposed collar where the spinal weapon's recoil frame passed through an external bracing fork. For less than a second, nothing happened. Then the charged cannon tried to settle against a support that no longer carried its load. The entire weapon assembly shifted. Emergency bolts fired automatically. The guns separated from the ship in a slow, ugly motion, surrounded by glittering fragments of insulation and a haze of vented coolant. The cruiser's defensive field remained intact. Its engines remained hot. Its life support signature did not change. The warship was alive. Its main weapon was not attached to it anymore. Two human recovery drones accelerated from Long Measure's flank before the drifting cannon could tumble into the cruiser's own formation. Their capture nets opened like dark petals, folded around the hot assembly, and pulled it away from traffic. The bridge went very quiet. Pell exhaled, clean separation. Nia watched the ceramic filament above her console settle toward center. Any crude penetration? None. Good. The council formation changed. Not much, a slight tightening. Several ships rotated armored faces toward Long Measure. Secondary batteries came awake and the bridge filled with new directional tones. Low knocks to port, a glassy hum ahead. A rapid tapping somewhere above Nia's left ear. The soundscape was the fleet thinking about violence. Marshal Severin returned to the channel. You struck an external mount. Yes. You avoided the hull. Yes. A demonstration. Nia looked at the floating weapon captured between human drones. No. His eyes narrowed. The council fired again. This time the salvo came from several directions. Long Measure's bridge lights dimmed as defensive systems drew power. Human ships scattered just enough to keep clear fields between one another, but they did not retreat from Sidra. Nia heard the hostile guns before she saw their firing markers. Third tone high starboard, she said. Pell already had it. Human beams answered. A council destroyer lost the cooling bridge, feeding its forward lance. A carrier lost the external optical trunk that linked its targeting mast to a bank of missile cells. Another cruiser felt a cut through the gimbal ring of a heavy turret, leaving the weapon locked at an angle far from the human line. No reactor breached. No bridge opened to vacuum. No engine died. The council ships kept moving. Their ability to hurt people did not. Severin's flagship stayed outside the first exchange, protected at the center of the formation. On its command deck, officers marked human hits as superficial. The fleet's hull count remained unchanged. Propulsion remained available. Defensive fields remained stable. By every measure the Council used to describe naval survival, the first exchange favored the invaders. That was the first wrong conclusion. The second was more dangerous. Severin believed a defender who could not destroy a warship could not force an end to a war. Nia knew because he said it openly on the next transmission. You are damaging attachments while preserving combat hulls, he told her. That may satisfy your internal restrictions, Commander, but it cannot change the outcome. Every ship you leave alive remains a ship the Council can use. Nia glanced at the nearest hostile icon. Its main battery was gone, its engines bright, its crew safe. Does it? For the first time, Severin did not answer immediately. The pause was small, but Nia heard certainty break inside it. The Marshal's jaw tightened. Nia leaned back from the channel. Above her, the calibration filament twitched toward a new sound. Another gun was charging. The next exchange taught Severin that the missing weapons were not accidents. He ordered his captains to change the pattern. Council batteries stopped charging in sequence. Some warmed slowly behind armored shutters. Others spiked power, went cold, then spiked again. Missile cells opened without launching. Targeting masts rotated toward empty space. The fleet scattered its electromagnetic signatures the way a hunter scattered tracks. On Long Measure, the directional soundscape became confused on purpose. False clicks appeared at Nia's feet. A bass pulse rolled across the ceiling. A thin whine jumped from left to right so quickly that a less patient crew might have fired at the wrong ship. Pell frowned at his board. "They're feeding us decoys." "Of course they are. Optical confirmation is getting worse." "Then stop asking what the weapon looks like." Nia reached up and touched the ceramic filament with one fingernail. It vibrated so lightly she could barely feel it. Before commanding a cruiser, she had spent years inside damaged ships where displays lied because cables were torn, sensors disagreed, and smoke made visual inspection useless. A machine still told the truth through strain. Pumps shuddered when they fought cavitation. Bearings changed rhythm before they failed. Power buses sang differently under load. A hull carried all of it. Long Measure's listening lattice did the same thing at distance. Laser vibrometers, magnetic gradient sensors, and field noise receivers watched hostile hulls without needing to know their schematics. The computer could translate the data into graphs. Humans had learned that ears were sometimes faster. "Strip the decoys," Nia said. The bridge sound changed. Pell listened for a breath. "Not the turret." "No." "Capacitor transfer." Nia nodded. "There." The carrier opened its armored shutters. Long Measure fired first. The human beam struck a narrow section of external armor below the weapon aperture. To Council observers, the hit looked meaningless. It did not penetrate the pressure hull. It did not even leave a crater large enough to matter. Then the carrier tried to fire. Its forward batteries went dark together. A coolant plume escaped from an automatic relief port. No explosion followed. No compartment failed. The ship continued forward under full engine power, but its offensive bus had isolated itself to prevent a cascade. Severin saw the result from his flagship. For the first time, his next order arrived late. Nia could not hear the Council command deck, but she could read delay as easily as sound. The formation paused between intentions. Ships that had been rotating toward firing positions stopped. Several captains closed weapon shutters entirely. Pell looked over. "He's thinking." "He should." The Marshal transmitted on a narrow beam. "You did not know where that transfer line was." "No." "You had no construction access to that class." "No." "Then how did you strike it?" Nia considered giving him the technical answer. She decided the technical answer would only help him protect the wrong thing. "We listened." His sensory ridges tightened. "In vacuum." "Yes." He almost looked offended. Nia let that sit. A service alarm flashed near her knee. Someone behind her opened a panel, and the smell of warm insulation drifted through the bridge air. A crew technician passed a mesh tool roll forward without taking his eyes off the damaged board. Pell's T-bulb, forgotten beside his station, had gone cold enough for condensation to bead along its rim. Ordinary things. Nia liked ordinary things during combat. They reminded her what war was supposed to protect. Severin ended the transmission. The Council fleet moved again, but the arrogance had gone out of its geometry. Ships no longer presented weapon faces casually. They turned with shields favoring their external systems. Smaller escorts moved ahead of heavier vessels to complicate human lines of fire. That change mattered more than any missing gun. The Marshal had begun protecting weapons from people who had not yet tried to kill his crews. Nia saw the belief crack. She did not press it with a speech. Instead, she ordered Long Measure to drift backward from Sidra's abandoned outer gantries and opened a broad lane through the human formation. Pell frowned. "You want them through." "I want him to choose what he thinks we're doing." The Council saw the opening. Severin tested it with a single armored frigate. The ship entered the lane with every weapon shutter closed. Its engines remained hot. Its shields stayed raised. It moved close enough that Long Measure could have hit the bridge with almost no warning. Nia did nothing. The frigate passed the first human firing arc untouched. It passed the second. No beam fired. Then one turret began charging behind its shutter. The sonification board placed a short metallic pulse directly in front of Nia. "Wait," she said. The turret continued to charge. "Wait." The frigate's captain must have believed the humans had lost the angle. The shutter opened. Now, a human beam cut across the turret's external rotation collar. The weapon froze before it could align. Long Measure immediately ceased fire. The frigate's engines remained untouched. Its shield remained untouched. Its bridge remained untouched. It continued through the lane and out the other side. Pell watched it go. He wanted to know whether we were selecting ships or behavior. And now he knows. The Council frigate turned back toward its own formation. Severin called again. His voice was quieter. "If a vessel does not charge weapons, you will not fire on it. That is what you just tested. If it maneuvers against you, depends on the maneuver. If it approaches Sidra, depends why. You are refusing to define the ship itself as the threat." Nia looked at the tactical wall. 64 hostile hulls had entered the battle. Everyone still existed. "A ship is a place," she said. "People live in places. Weapons are choices attached to them." Pell glanced at her. The line was more philosophical than she usually allowed herself. Severin seemed to hear something else in it. His eyes moved away from the camera, probably toward a damage report. When he looked back, the confidence in his face had changed into concentration. "The Council's doctrine is simpler," he said. "A warship in hostile service is a warship. That simplicity is your problem." He cut the channel before she could. The fleet stopped firing for several minutes. The silence was not peace. Behind the Council crescent, one of the largest hulls began to move. Pell's display identified it as the siege battleship Crown Without Sky. Its weapon signatures were cold. Its engines were not. Nia watched it separate from the formation and turned directly toward Long Measure. The ceramic filament above her console bent toward the battleship before any alarm sounded. This time the note was so low that the bridge speakers barely carried it. Something enormous inside Crown Without Sky was waking. Crown Without Sky did not rush. That made it worse. The battleship advanced with the measured certainty of a vessel designed to survive punishment long enough to deliver something catastrophic in return. Its armor rotated as it came, overlapping plates sliding across one another to bury exposed joints. Weapon apertures remained sealed. The hull presented almost nothing that resembled the vulnerable external hardware Long Measure had been cutting away. Pell enlarged the battleship's image. They learned. They were supposed to. Main battery is internal. Mostly is doing a lot of work. Nia listened. The note beneath the bridge noise deepened. It seemed to come from far below her chair now, then from behind the bulkhead, then from somewhere inside her own chest. Crown Without Sky was moving power through structures too thick to show obvious thermal changes. The listening lattice caught minute distortions where internal machinery loaded the outer frame. The Council had hidden the gun. It could not hide the fact that the ship was preparing to fire it. A transmission arrived from Severin. "This vessel will proceed through your line," he said. "You have demonstrated an ability to disable exposed systems. Crown Without Sky was designed to continue fighting after such losses. If you intend to stop it, Commander, you will need to strike the ship." Nia heard the challenge beneath the words. "Not the weapon. The ship." Severin still believed the distinction would eventually collapse. "Understood," she said. Will you allow it through? No. Then we have reached the limit of your doctrine. We'll see. The battleship crossed into human range. Longmeasure's crew went still in the way experienced crews did when a problem became too large for nervous motion. Pell set his cold tea aside. The technician behind Nia closed the service panel and clipped the mesh tool roll back beneath the console. Someone reduced ventilation over the bridge to give heat management a little more margin. Sidra's empty repair gantries drifted beyond the battle, dark against the stars. Nia had chosen to fight near the anchorage for a reason, but not because its machinery could trap the enemy. Every external crane was powered down. Every commercial tug had been removed. The station was not part of the firing plan. Its empty docks were part of the safety plan. Longmeasure carried recovery cradles, but Crown Without Sky carried weapons too large for any cruiser to catch cleanly if they tore loose under charge. Sidra offered open volume, where dangerous assemblies could be guided away from crude hulls and held until they cooled. Severin had seen a repair station. Nia had seen somewhere to put the pieces. Battleship charge rising, Pell said. The bridge filled with sound. A low pulse from the bow, a rough scrape from aft, a repeating tremor to port. The system was no longer presenting a single gun. It was presenting the path by which the battleship became a gun. Nia closed her eyes for half a second. There. Forward armor shoulder, she said, not center, outer edge. Pell hesitated. That's hull plating. Outer edge. The first human beam touched Crown Without Sky. A bright line appeared across an armored plate and vanished. The battleship kept coming. A second beam struck farther aft. Then another. Council observers must have thought the humans were finally firing desperately at armor. They were not trying to get through. They were making room. The plates at the battleship's shoulder shifted to compensate for localized heating. That movement exposed a narrow seam for less than a second. Longmeasure fired through it. Not inward. Across. The beam cut the mechanical bridge, connecting the rotating armor shell to the insulated channel beneath. A section of plating locked out of alignment. The hidden weapon tried to open its firing path. It could not. Power rerouted. The sonification board screamed from Nia's right. Secondary path, Pell said. Mark it. A sister human cruiser struck the new load point. Crown Without Sky's internal systems rerouted again. Another sound appeared. Another human beam answered. The battleship became a conversation between engineering and precision fire. Every time its designers gave energy another path toward a weapon, the human line identified the physical consequence and removed only what carried that consequence. The ship's shields held. Its engines held. Its atmosphere held. Its crew compartments remained sealed. Its weapon architecture came apart by decisions. Severin ordered the battleship to fire secondary batteries. Smaller apertures opened along the ventral hull. Human point defense lances cut their external emitter lips before they completed alignment. Recovery drones moved in behind each strike, pushing hot fragments away from the hull and towards Sidra's empty dock volume. Crown Without Sky turned harder. Its main battery found a partial path. The deep note became a roar. Pell looked at Nia. We have a reactor shot. She knew. The firing solution was clean. A slight adjustment inward through the seam they had already opened would reach the battleship's power core. Crown Without Sky would never fire again. It might never do anything again. Decline it. Pell did not argue. Magazine. Decline. Drive throat. Decline. Then I need another path. Nia listened until the sound hurt. A faint ticking hid beneath the low roar. Not power, Mechanism. Recoil shoe, she said. Aft underside, it has to brace somewhere. Pell found the rhythm. Long measure rolled under the battleship's firing plane. Defensive fields flared as secondary shots crossed empty space behind it. The human cruiser fired upward. The beam struck a structure no larger than a narrow ridge along the battleship's underside. For an instant, nothing changed. Then Crown Without Sky aborted its main discharge. The weapon had charged. The targeting system had aligned. The firing path had opened. But the mechanism that kept the gun from driving itself backward through the ship was no longer trustworthy. Automatic safeties shut the battery down. The roar vanished from the bridge. Silence hit almost as hard. Crown Without Sky drifted forward, alive. Pell checked the status board twice. Engine stable. Life support. Stable. Reactor. Stable. Offensive systems. He looked at her. Nothing heavy remains available. Nia opened a channel to the battleship. Crown Without Sky, your thermal load is rising near the forward distribution bay. We can send a coolant pack if you accept a rescue approach. There was no answer at first. Then a voice not Severin's. Human vessel, you just disabled us. Yes. And you are offering coolant. Your gun is no longer our problem. Your overheating machinery is. A longer pause followed. Approach accepted. One human drone left formation, carrying a compact coolant canister. No weapon covered it. The drone crossed open space and docked with the battleship. On Severin's flagship, every sensor would have seen the same facts. Humanity had possessed lethal shots. Humanity had declined them. Humanity had then helped the disabled ship stay alive. That was the proof Severin had been trying not to name. The human line was not failing to destroy warships. It was refusing to confuse destruction with control. When the marshal returned to the channel, the black collar around his throat looked suddenly too formal for the moment. You could have killed Crown Without Sky. Yes. You had more than one opportunity. Yes. Why preserve a vessel built to attack your world? Nia looked at the battleship, receiving human coolant. Because the people aboard it are not the weapon. Severin said nothing. Behind him, officers moved across the command deck. Their formation symbols were changing. Several ships were closing batteries without orders from the human side. Nia knew better than to mistake hesitation for surrender. The Council's war still existed. Its ships still had engines. Many still had weapons. And somewhere far beyond Severin, politicians who had never heard a hostile cannon charge were about to decide whether proving a doctrine mattered more than the lives inside those hulls. The answer came quickly. A priority signal cut across every open channel. The Council speaker had ordered the fleet to prepare a full strike package. Not against Sidra. Against the route to Earth. The order arrived as text, then voice. Council Speaker Malin Soar appeared above tactical stations on long measure. She was silver-skinned, broad-faced, and composed in ceremonial armor worn during council declarations. Behind her stood the curved ranks of the Helix chamber. The expeditionary force will advance, she said. All remaining strategic batteries are authorized. Human obstruction will no longer be answered selectively. Pell stared at the plot. They're synchronizing long-range launch systems. Nia heard it too. The bridge crowded with direction. Deep tones rose from ships quiet through the earlier exchanges. Sharp pulses appeared behind them as missile buses woke. Harmonics layered until the sonification system sounded like a building full of machinery turning on at once. The ceramic filament above Nia's console pulled hard toward the Council fleet. Time to launch. Not enough. That was the point. Severin called on a private channel. I did not request this authorization. I know. If I refuse, the speaker will relieve me. Will the next commander be better? No. Then stay where you are. His eyes sharpened. Commander, if those batteries fire, you cannot preserve every hull. Nia looked at the lethal solution stacked beside Pell's station. Reactors, magazines, drive cores, pressure spines. Human fire control had them all. The easy way to stop the strike was available. That was why the next choice mattered. Pell, she said, release exclusion map Delta. He turned toward her. All of it. All of it. Across the human line, targeting systems changed. Red lethal markers disappeared from crewed compartments. New markers crowded the external geometry of Council ships. Emitter throats, recoil routes, capacitor necks, launch collars, targeting vanes, focusing cages, feed channels, and structural braces. The map had not been created in secret before the battle. The fleet had built it while listening. Every shot the Council charged had revealed strain. Every rotation had revealed which structures carried mass. Every attempted deception had separated real machinery from false signals. Every human refusal to fire into a hull had forced the targeting system to become more specific. That was the hidden strength of the doctrine. Restraint had not reduced the human's information. It had refined it. Severin saw the targeting change through shared telemetry. You mapped the weapons during the battle. We mapped what they do. You cannot cut all of them before launch. Nia watched the charge tones climb. We don't need all of them. The Council's strike doctrine depended on synchronized release. Weapons that launched too early could be intercepted alone. Weapons that launched too late would lose the shared targeting update. The fleet needed a critical rhythm. The human line had spent the entire battle hearing that rhythm form. Ready, Pell said. Nia opened a fleet channel. Human ships fire on function. Long measure fired. So did every human vessel beside it. Space did not become a wall of explosions. It became a sequence of absences. A missile carrier lost the collar that aligned its launch rack. A cruiser lost the focusing cage around its standoff emitter. A heavy ship kept its battery, but lost the narrow external feed that delivered targeting corrections at the moment of release. Another vessel shut down its own weapon when a human beam severed the brace that stabilized recoil. Across the fleet, launch tones vanished from the bridge soundscape. Some disappeared instantly. Others broke into unstable fragments and went silent as automatic safeties engaged. Council crews reacted intelligently. They rerouted power, shifted targets, and tried local firing modes. The human line listened and cut again. Not deeper. More precisely. The filament over Nia's console shook so hard its mounting frame buzzed. Pell called contacts without raising his voice. Forward cluster cold. Port group losing sync. Flagship batteries still active. Nia heard Severin's ship as a hard tone ahead. Give him room to choose. Pell looked at her. The flagship's main battery continued charging. Human lethal solutions remained available. Nia did not take them. Severin's face appeared on the private channel. Behind him, warning lights flashed across the command deck. You left my weapon intact. Yes. Why? Because you know what happens next. He looked toward someone beyond the camera. The flagship tone climbed, then stopped. Not because a human beam struck it. Severin had ordered the battery safe. A second Council ship followed. Then another. The remaining launch tones began disappearing without human fire. Captains were shutting down their own weapons. Speaker Soar broke into the fleet channel. Marshal Kell, resume strike preparation. Severin answered where every ship could hear him. No. The word was calm. The council chamber froze behind the speaker. Soar's face hardened. You are under a declaration of war. I am commanding living crews in a battle whose result is established. Your fleet remains intact. Yes. Then you remain capable of fighting. Severin looked toward the human line. No, we remain capable of dying. Nia said nothing. Soar tried again. The humans have not defeated the expeditionary force. Severin's answer came slowly. They have shown that they can decide which parts of this fleet continue to function, and they have repeatedly excluded our crews from that decision. If I continue, I will be asking them to remove the exclusion. The chamber behind Soar erupted into motion. The channel filled with overlapping requests, military confirmations, and ship status reports. Council captains transmitted their own telemetry. Crown Without Sky reported stable life support under human coolant. Other vessels confirmed engines, reactors, and crew spaces untouched while offensive systems had been isolated. No surviving captain needed to travel home as evidence. The evidence was happening live. Nia muted the political feed. What's the fleet doing? She asked. Pell listened. Safing. All of it. A pause. Then he smiled barely. All of it. The bridge soundscape changed faster than the tactical wall. The hostile tones disappeared one by one until only engines, pumps, navigation fields, and ordinary ship machinery remained. Warships without a war. The council session continued for a long time. Nia did not watch most of it. She supervised rescue lanes, thermal checks, and recovery cradles. Human drones guided detached weapon assemblies toward empty space near Sidra. Council engineers sent cautious questions about temporary bracing. Pell finally remembered his tea, tasted it, and made a face. The mesh tool roll came out again when a console fan began rattling. Ordinary things returned before politics finished catching up. When the council channel reopened, Speaker Soar was gone. An elder delegate read the new resolution without ceremony. The declaration of war against Earth was rescinded. Earth would be entered under negotiated sovereign standing, not coercive settlement. Council military contact with human territory would proceed by consent, with fleet commanders authorized to refuse orders that required treating protected crews or civilians as expendable proof of resolve. Nia listened to the wording once. Then she asked the only question that mattered. Marshal Kell, do your ships accept ceasefire conditions? Severin appeared on the screen. Behind him, the command deck was dimmer now. We do. No surrender demand. I noticed. Keep your drives warm. Sidra has room for repair rotation. His sensory ridges lifted slightly. You are offering repairs to the fleet that came to attack Earth. I'm offering repairs to ships whose weapons are safe. He considered that. Then he nodded. Long measure reduced combat power. Outside, 64 Council warships remained in the dark around Sidra anchorage. Some had empty weapon collars. Some carried silent batteries locked behind shutters. None had lost its bridge, reactor, engines, or crew spaces to human fire. The ships had survived exactly as the Council once believed victory required. The Council's war had not. Above Nia's console, the ceramic filament finally relaxed. Then it bent gently toward Severin's flagship as a new signal entered the sonification board. Not a charging weapon. A repair request.